This is my 2016 Range Rover Sport and it is completely falling apart. Before I get into all the issues with this car, I'm just going to give you a general overview and background about this car. So this car actually came from Bring a Trailer, and if you guys don't know what Bring a Trailer is, it's basically like a Facebook marketplace for cars that are supposed to be more verified and just more professional. Well, that's what they say. This car I got with about 68,000 miles. Right now it has about 73,000 miles, and unfortunately there were some issues that the previous owner left me with that he didn't disclose in the Bring a Trailer listing. So the first thing I'm going to share with you guys is the suspension, because that is where the majority of the issues are coming from, and there's a long list of them. So when I first got this car, I noticed that every time I turn to the left, there's a clicking noise, almost as if the car is cracking its back every time I turn the steering wheel to the left. Now this is an issue that came from the previous owner that he didn't disclose on Bring a Trailer. But I didn't really care because it wasn't a huge thing and there was no suspension error code lights on the dashboard, so I kind of just let it slide. But then there were other things that happened. I finally got that big bright orange suspension error code light that came up on the dash, and that was when I knew hit the fan. So, like any reasonable person, I took it to the Land Rover dealership, or should I say stealership, because if you guys don't know already, if you try to take your car to get a diagnosis at Land Rover and you choose not to do the repairs, they charge you $300. So even if it only took 5 seconds, a minute for the technician to figure out what's wrong with the car, if you choose not to do the repairs, they charge you $300. But I didn't really mind anyways, because I didn't think the repair bill was going to be that much, and I figured, well, I'm probably going to repair the car anyways, and I just want to see what's wrong with the car. After the car went to the dealership, I finally got the repair estimate back, and there was a lot of stuff. In fact, so many things that I have to hold my phone here and read all of them because there's too many to remember. And I'm going to add the price of these, and we're going to add it up. I'm going to add it up on the video so you guys know just how expensive only the suspension is to repair. The very first thing that they quoted me for was rear ace lines leaking and faulty valve block assembly. And guess what the price is? Drum roll. $6,829.58. And that's just for the first repair, guys. That's not the entire thing. Now, I don't know what rear ace lines are. That's way too technical for me. If you guys know what they are, let me know in the comment section below. But yeah, just that alone is over $6,000. The next thing is lower steering shaft boot torn. I don't even know what a steering shaft boot is and the fact that it can be torn, but that is a $756.33 repair. Next, we have replace both sway bar bushings. That is $922.39. Then we have the lower control arm boot is torn. So we have two different things torn, and that is a $944.53 repair. We also have suspension lower control arm bushing worn, so not just the control arm boot, but also the control arm bushing is worn, and that is $964.99. But wait, there's more. We also have a custom recommendation, guys, custom recommendation, which is if front lines are seized in valve block but very rusty, they may start leaking soon. And guess how much that is? Drum roll, $3,080 even. So if I'm just doing simple math here, that is well over $10,000 just to fix the stuff on the suspension. Underneath the suspension, I was sent some photos, and it is incredibly rusty, which means that probably in 5 to 10 years, it's very likely that a lot of these physical parts that are actually doing fine now might have way too much rust on them and might need to be replaced. Now, do any of you notice something odd about this right here? Because on the exterior, the suspension is not the only thing that has an issue. And it's actually kind of funny. I had the idea for this video a couple days ago. I was washing my car yesterday. I had cleaned the engine bay, and I went to shut the front right here, and there's a little gap right here. And you want to know why? Because the front lid is not shutting anymore. The right side shuts. You can see right here. No problem. You can push on it. It's locked in. But the left side, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it's not locking. And I looked at the latches. I looked at everything. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not closing. Now, in terms of other stuff on the exterior of the car, the rear sport trim badging is starting to peel off. It actually kind of looks cool. I like how it's looking red now, but I don't like how it's half black, half red. I would much rather have it just completely peel off. And I can tell everybody that the sport trim, it's a little red badging that looks really cool. But unfortunately, I probably have to wait a couple months for that to happen. Now, and then the plastic little fins on the side of the car, on the right side of the car that are supposed to make the car look more sporty and cool and more aerodynamic. I think the glue or whatever they used on that piece finally came off, and now it's flailing around. So every time I wash the car and dry it, the towel gets stuck underneath it. It feels like I'm just gonna rip the entire trim piece off. So that's nice to have. On the interior, let me start with the biggest issue that has basically been happening throughout the whole time I've owned the car. And once again, this is another thing that the previous owner did not disclose on Bring a Trailer, and that is turning on the car. See, when you press the start and stop button, sometimes the car turns on, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it turns on fine, you hear that nice grumbly V8 roar. Then other times you press it and you hear the ignition kick on and it's turning over, and then it's like someone just unplugged the engine from the car. It just completely shuts off. It sounds expensive every time it happens, but I haven't even bothered to fix it or even talk to a technician about it because I know it's probably pretty expensive. Now, some of the other things on the interior that are kind of starting to fall apart. On the driver's seat, the leather is starting to pinch together. It's starting to, kind of get loose. It's not tight anymore. That's usually what happens on most leather cars. But once again, this is a 2016 and this is not that old of a car. The next thing that really annoys me is the home link up here. I kid you not, it works perfectly fine during the day, but at nighttime, it's like I have to play musical chairs with the car just to get it in the perfect position, close enough to the garage sensor just for it to open my garage door. Now, the last two things I'm going to complain about on the interior is actually the passenger door and just the general quality of the materials and the leathers and the plastics. So the passenger door actually got fully stuck. It wouldn't open from the inside or the out. I locked it, unlocked it. I tried everyththing I could possibly do to get it open. And then finally, after unlocking and locking like 10 or 20 times, I had to unlock it from the passenger side door armrest, that unlocking button on the armrest on the passenger door, and then I had to open it from the inside. It wouldn't open from the outside. I finally got it open, but the passenger had to go out through the back seat because it would not open. It was really weird, and I haven't had that issue since, but that is something that did happen in the car. And lastly, some of just the interior, like plastics and leathers, are kind of starting to fade away and actually like discolor themselves. Now, this is pretty common in most cars, but once again, this is a 2016. 2016 is not that long ago. 2016 was when Donald Trump got elected. That is not that old of a car. And the fact that in a high quality car like this, that was once a lot more expensive than it is now, is already kind of starting to fade away on its trims and plastics and leathers, it's kind of disappointing. I know I've talked a lot of negative things about the Range Rovers, but I want to say this. Range Rovers are genuinely very nice cars. I love this car. It is so fun to drive. I'll tell you that even though I own sports cars and those cars are amazing and they're loud and fun and everything that you could possibly want in a driver's car, this car, as big and as boaty as it is, that V8 is just so intoxicating, and the car genuinely makes a lot of power. It's a 2016 car. It has over 500 horsepower for a pretty affordable price. It's only $24,000 to buy one of these brand new. So this car, on top of being intoxicating with the V8, it is super, super, super comfortable on the interior. I usually don't have a lot of comfortable cars that I sit in. Usually I have to adjust lumbar and do all sorts of things. The Range Rovers are genuinely comfortable to sit in, and they're really, really fun to drive. So they really have like a lot of good qualities and things about them, but it's just the fact that it's almost like they manufacture them to be unreliable. And I think that's just a bad way to do business, especially when there's so much potential for these. Like, they're generally really nice cars. There's a reason why they're popular, because they look cool and they're nice and they're comfortable and they're big and they have really nice engines in them. But it's just the fact that they make stuff that shouldn't be fail. I've seen a lot of videos of other Range Rover and Land Rover owners, and they almost all have terrible, horrible stories to say about used Range Rovers. So I just think that there's something going on at Land Rover that they're probably doing on purpose, in my opinion. So I'm just kind of making this video to get the word out there that, hey, these are beautiful cars. They're amazing. They're great. But it doesn't mean that the reliability memes that people make about Land Rovers are fake. I think they are genuinely true. I think Land Rovers really do fall apart. I guess what I'm saying is I'm just trying to let everybody know what's going on and what these cars really are. Now, this isn't to say don't get a Range Rover, because there's people who have these cars and have zero problems. But all I'm saying is that me and a lot of other people who have Range Rovers have had these issues, and I really hope Land Rover does something in the future to fix it. So that wraps it up for the video today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments section if you had a Land Rover or a Range Rover, if you had similar problems to these. I know I'm not alone, and I want to see who else out there is having similar problems. And without further ado, guys, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.